let me start by introducing myself, just so you have an idea of who you have to listen to all morning. My name is Derek Melber. My title is Technical Evangelist. So I am a technical evangelist for the Active Directory Solutions Group at Manage Engine. And what that means is I get to tour the world, talking to admins, talking to organizations, and my goal is to help administrators do the job better with either the tools they have, as I was showing you with SecHall and some of the other concepts, because I've been on the other side. I've been in your seat as an admin, and I always struggled with, I didn't have any time. So every time that I would go to a training class or I would go to something, it was always a disappointment for me. So I decided, well, why don't you just create something that's worthwhile for the admins? And I do that with presentations. I do that with a blog. You'll see that I run this Active Directory blog. I took what I had and I moved it over to the Manage Engine website. And it requires no information about you, which is the most important thing for me. Because again, when I was in your shoes, it always frustrated me that I had to put in my name, my email, my phone number, how many people worked at the company. No, this is just, you click, you search, and it's information for you. So please, take advantage of the blog. I work on this every week. So it's a way for me to communicate with you. The way to find the blog is you hit the main page and you go to Community. And then under Community, which if my internet is working, yes, it goes to Pit Stop, right? And then Blogs, Active Directory. That's all you have to do. And I write a blog a week. The point of the blog is 5 minutes or less of your time. That's all I want. Read the title. If it doesn't apply, you move on. If it does apply, 5 minutes of your time to read to see if it's going to help you. Because normally when I get questions, that becomes a blog. Because I figure if one person has the question, then other people have it, and that's why I write the blog. There's also videos in here. Videos are related to click, 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 here's how you do it, thank you, go on. 5 minutes, right? So this is one way that I'm trying to help the community. Another way is this security, we've renamed it security hardening instead of baseline website. And I don't want to be too verbose about it, the reason why, but it is important. So if you go back to the main page, this is almost impossible to find. It's kind of one of those Easter eggs. We've hit it really well. If you click on Active Directory, there's a drop down. In the drop down, right here, is the security hardening link. Okay? It's the only place on the entire website you're going to find it. But the information is extremely valuable. In here, first and foremost, and as we go through the day, I'm going to give you action items, like I did with Land Manager. Okay? Go watch this video, right here. Watch this video. It is very interesting to watch. It's humorous to watch, but it's also insightful. It is a Microsoft product manager over Active Directory talking at the 2014 Barcelona Tech Ed about next generation Microsoft Active Directory security, which is now live. Now, Microsoft is notorious for developing technology and then, right? Who has heard of JIT, J-I-T? What does it stand for?
I don't know what it stands for. I use it to find source.
Just in time.
Just in time, okay? There's another technology that goes with it called JEA, J-E-A. What's that stand for?
Just enough administration.
Just enough administration. These are the two technologies that they were talking about. Has anyone implemented these? Okay? He said, no, I won't. That's what that meant, right? Okay? Now, I'm going to give you a summary of what this looks like. You got to watch the video to get the full effect. Microsoft says in the video that it is nearly impossible to discover and correctly configure who has privileges in Active Directory. Now, for Microsoft to say that about their own product, what does that mean? We're in trouble, right? So they have a solution. Now, if this is your current Active Directory, whether it be one domain, two domains, it doesn't matter. This is the current problem. You're not to deal with this yet. First, you need to install another Active Directory forest. You hear me? This is current. Another Active Directory forest is their solution. Sound good so far? Who wants another Active Directory? Who wants to double their problems? Okay. When you're done, you take the groups that have privileges and you mirror them to the new forest. So you have kind of a matching group. Then you empty the groups. And those groups are empty too. So you have groups, matched, different forests. No one has any privilege. No matter where you log in, you have no privilege. In order to get privileges, here, you log on here. Once you log on, you have no privileges. So in order to get privileges, you run a PowerShell command. Could you imagine non-administrators needing privileges running PowerShell commands over here? Because once you are here with privileges, you now need to go there to do the task. And how do you do that? Run as. Okay? Now, behind all of this, when you get privileges, you can set time to live for how long you have the privilege. Well, that sounds kind of nice, right? You got to watch the video. The guy introduces this, he's showing it live. He elevates with PowerShell, and then he talks, and then he goes, let me show you the result. And he comes over here, and the time to live was 5 minutes, and he talked for 6. And he had to do it again. Why is that important? Well, think about your environment. How many times do you sit down to do a task, and you're taken away to do something else? The phone rings, someone knocks on your door, and the time to live is just going to be not enough, ever. So what are you going to do to the time to live by the time you're done? What's it going to be set to?
2 weeks.
Unlimited. Isn't that what you have here? Right? So now you've just doubled the problem. And I see no real benefit. I've only met one organization that's doing this. One. One organization that's doing it. The only reason they're doing it is because there's an Active Directory MVP that convinced them it was worth it. I guess just to prove it could be done. I don't know. So what we did around this is we said, let's fix this. Let's help admins fix this, which is what the site's all about. So down here, we have the steps. So if you pick on any of these areas, you're going to have multiple blogs and videos to walk you through how to fix this. That's the whole point of the site. It's free for you. Come consume. It's yours. All right? So that kind of gives you a little bit about what I do. I built the site. I worked with others at Manage Engine, put the information together. And my whole job, my whole desire is to help administrators get the job done. Okay? So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about 3 different subjects, all around this idea of solving things. And what we're going to try to solve first is the idea of change monitoring in Active Directory. Now, Microsoft is very famous for creating something that everybody wants, but not all the other pieces that everybody needs. For example, change monitoring. Microsoft doesn't have change monitoring, really. They kind of do, but not really. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through how to set it up the Microsoft way. And we're going to try to solve it the Microsoft way, the best that we can. And we're going to use everything Microsoft to try to do this. Okay? There goes a table. I think that's a table, I don't know. Right? And then we're gonna walk through some different concepts. So, let's first of all give you my definition. I want to know as an admin of Active Directory when anything changes in Active Directory. I want to know if a user is created. I want to know if an OU is deleted. I want to know if a group changes membership. I want to know if a GPO changes. Anything in AD, I want it tracked. But not only do I want it tracked, I want the details. I want to know all the details around the tracking of it. Primarily that first one, right? Because you have people that you work with that also have the ability to change Active Directory, correct? How's that working for you? I don't want to scare you, but you are here. And they are where? There. And I'm sure that when you leave, when you come back, you're a little concerned. What did you change? Correct? It's a concern. Because you go back to fires. And then you bring the team together. All right, who made the change? Who says, it was me, right? No one says, it was me. So I want to know who it was. I want to know what they changed. Group policy is notorious, right? In group policy, you have a setting that's been working for 3 years. Someone goes in and changes it, and now it doesn't work. The question is, what was it? I don't know. I want to know, don't you? Would that change your world to have this information? Because many people look at change monitoring from the security aspect. And I don't disagree. I don't disagree. Right? But the security aspect is almost too late. If I am looking at settings in a report 3 weeks after it was changed, the attacker already had 3 weeks. What I want is from an administrative standpoint, when something changes, I want to be told right now. Because today, when something changes, and you aren't notified right now, how are you notified? That's right. The phone rings, and it's usually not a good conversation, is it? And it may not be immediate. It might be a week later. Now you have an entire week to have to troubleshoot back to the problem? That's not logical. That's not efficient. Okay? So let's go into the operating system and let's configure change monitoring. It's auditing. Horrible name. I hate the name. Because auditing gives us an impression of an auditor. Security, compliance. That's not what this is about. This is about that 10%, but it's about how we can now troubleshoot Active Directory. So I'm going to go into group policy, and I'm going to establish the audit policy. If I go into my environment here, I go to my group policy management. I'm going to go to a GPO linked to the domain. We'll talk about that in just a second. Inside of my policy, I establish the audit policy. First, this is a GPO linked to the domain. Does it have to be linked to the domain? No. If I only am concerned about Active Directory changes, link it to the domain controller's OU. Second, you will notice I didn't modify one of the 2 default GPOs. Why? I don't trust Microsoft. Does anyone trust Microsoft? I always want to find out if there's a Microsoft employee because they can't say no to that question, right? I mean, who's to say that Microsoft doesn't release an update, a patch, a fix, and someone accidentally puts in the command to put your GPOs back to the default? I don't know, right? So I'm going to lose all that because Microsoft made a mistake or they did it on purpose? I don't trust them. Create a new GPO, link it to the correct location, and then go in and configure the audit policy. You will notice that I have quite a bit configured in here. This is more than I need for Active Directory. But then again, I'm tracking changes to servers, I'm tracking changes or authentications to workstations, so that's why I have more. You need to configure only what you need. How do you know what you need? Well, we put together a document. Email me and I'll send you the document. It is a detailed document talking about if you want to track this, then set up this. If you want to track this, then set up that. I can just send it to you, okay? Also, inside of the policy, you have to make decisions on if you're going to do success or failure or both. I suggest both. Right? How many of you are concerned about an internal user hacking into another account trying to guess passwords? Those would be failed logons, correct? Failures, we have to know them. So we need success, we need failures. We need to see the trends. We need to see who is trying to attack us. So that's why, in most cases, I'm going to do success and failure. Excellent. I go in, I set up my policy, I set up the audit policy, I set the right settings, do success, failure. I track Active Directory, right? I now go to Active Directory, I make a modification. All the information should be tracked in which log? The security log. I go to the security log, and what do I see? Nothing. Right? Have some of you attempted this? Yeah. I did it over and over again. It was like taking my head and hitting against the wall. Like, why isn't this working? This should be working. Everything says it should be working. Well, there was a setting that either you didn't know about, or most likely Microsoft didn't tell you about. I call it the secret, because it is truly a secret. You have to go into the SACL and configure the access control list in Active Directory to tell it what to track. To do this, super simple. You go into Active Directory users and computers. Go to the domain node. Right-click, Properties, Security, Advanced, Auditing, Configure. Remember my definition, I want to track everything? I want to track computers, groups, OUs, users, group policy. I define it all. I do it at the top and inherits all the way down. Now you go into Active Directory and make a change, and you go to security log. What do you see? What changed? That's simple. You're done. Change monitoring and Active Directory. Now, if you want even better change monitoring, you are going to use a newer technology from Microsoft called advanced auditing. Okay. Advanced auditing was first introduced in Windows Server 2008, but it was kind of a partial solution. In order to get change monitoring using advanced auditing, you need at least Server 2008 R2 domain controllers. Okay. But if you have them, now in group policy, you go down to let me show you where we were, and then I'll show you where we need to go. So we were here. But if you go all the way down, you have advanced auditing. You can do this. Why? First, it's granular, meaning that if I'm going to do account management, I can decide to look at some objects but not all objects. Why is this important? My logs are going to be smaller because I'm not tracking everything. The performance of my domain controller is going to be better because I'm not tracking things I don't care about. Also, the results are better. There's deeper information, more information from the results. It's just better all around. If you have 2008 R2 domain controllers, use advanced auditing. Previous, use normal auditing. Can you use both in the same domain? Of course. It's group policy. Your 2008 won't even understand what's going on. Right? So you go in, you configure the audit policy, you configure advanced auditing. You're done. So what have we done? We've gone into group policy, linked it to the domain of the domain controllers, depending on what you want to track. We've set up auditing with the advanced audit policy per whatever we want to track. We go into Active Directory, configure the SACL, the Security Access Control List, which is that auditing tab, and we are done. Yes?
But use both advanced and standard auditing. Are they complementary or completely each other?
So let's talk about the options. Let's say that I only have 2008 domain controllers. When the policy comes down, everything related to advanced auditing will be ignored because it doesn't even understand how to produce it. If I have a 2008 R2 domain controller and I have a GPO that has auditing and advanced auditing configured, by default, it will use the old auditing. There is one setting, let me show you what the setting is. Here under security options, forced audit policy subcategory settings. The subcategory refers to advanced auditing with the details. I must enable this to then not use the old, but it'll switch to the new. Okay? The reason Microsoft did that is they didn't want someone to come into advanced auditing and go, I wonder what this does. And then all of a sudden it sets some, but not all of your tracking. All right. So we now have advanced auditing set up, auditing the SACL. Oh, of course there's details in advanced auditing. Which ones do you set up? The same document I'm sending you, all the advanced auditing's in there too. So it tells you exactly what to set up. So now we're going to go to security log. So before we go in, let's pick something we need to find. Let's pick something that we all care about. We all care about the domain admins group and its membership, right? I mean, would you care if the CEO was added to the domain admins group? That'd be kind of a problematic day, right? So we need to know, how many of you today, with 100% certainty, know who has membership in the domain admins group? 100% certainty.
Well, they changed it while I was here.
Exactly. No, he said they changed it while I was here. Exactly. I know 100%. Okay? How many of you know the last time it changed? Because you may not have done it, right? But you want to know. The rest of you didn't. The rest of you that didn't raise your hand, does it mean that you don't care, or you just don't have it in place? Because now that we've set up auditing, all we have to do is go into the event viewer, go to the security log, and in the 144,000 events, find last time domain admins changed. It's that simple, right? So, how long has the event viewer been around? It goes back to Windows NT, right? And what we're talking about is not some new, I have an idea, concept, right? I mean, even back in Windows NT, we cared who was in the domain admins group. So obviously, Microsoft has given us a great capability to find stuff in here, right? So let's see what Microsoft has given us. So if we come in here, filter current event. We can just filter out to find what we want. So we're going to come in here, look at all the different options, because we don't know what the event type was, right? And then we're just going to type in domain admins. It's not a text box. drop down. Uh-oh. Domain admins is not optional. Okay, next, let's see. Oh, fine, even better. Domain admins. It is a text box. Go. Pretty awesome technology right here. All right, so let's talk about how bad this really is. This is one DC. Who has one DC? Anyone? One. Okay. Who has the most? So do a little contest. Who has the most DCs in production just in one domain? So pick a domain that has the most DCs. Who has more than 25? How many do you got?
We have about 60.
60 D. Anyone beat that? 60 DCs. You get to do this 60 times. Wow. Because the security log is per DC. It's unique per DC. It's not replicated. So depending on which domain controller the domain admins group was changed on, I have to go to all of them to find out which one is the last one. Or use event log collection, such as what?
Well, just use the Microsoft event log collector.
And that solves all this?
No, not at all. Because
So
you're going to drown in information any way you choose.
So we'll get to the event log forwarding collector in just a minute, because it's pretty cool. It's actually nice, but does it give us everything we need? No. So right now, it's still working. It's trying. It's really trying to find domain admins. So we have some hurdles that we're going to have to overcome, because believe it or not, the information that runs through the security log is really awesome. But we have to find a way to get the information out. So let's try to come up with concepts. Let's try to come up with solutions that are going to help us solve this. So first of all, did you know that Microsoft updated the event viewer starting with Vista in 2008? They had a dedicated team working on the updates to event viewer. It's brand new. It's actually pretty awesome. I mean, most of us are so tainted with the event viewers, like, I'm not going in there, right? Because it's always been kind of clumsy. Let me show you one feature that's really awesome. We're going to stop that. Okay? Custom views. With a custom view, for example, I can create a custom view of just group changes. You'll notice that I have none. In the 144,000 events, I have no group changes, which is a good reason why I didn't find domain admins. Now, let's first of all look at the setup here. I have gone in and said, I want to know if any group change event has shown up in the security log, and I want to display just the group changes. Now, there are some issues around this. First of all, I don't even have any group changes. Does that mean I've never changed domain admins? No. That just means that change isn't in the current law. But before we move to that question, these custom views also allow you to do stuff like this. Let's say that I want to add in events across multiple logs. I can do that in a single view. Because you've all done this. You're troubleshooting a problem. And you have both logs open, and you're going date, time, stamp, back and forth. You don't have to do that anymore. It'll just put it all in the same log. It's pretty awesome, okay, for troubleshooting. Unfortunately, in this case, it doesn't help us at all. Okay? But if we get back to the issue about domain admins not being in here, it's because my log is set up to override events as needed. So that means that I have a log size, and when my first entry goes in, it goes to the bottom as more come in, and then when I run out of log space, what happens to the first entry? It's purged. So I've lost the domain admins. But what if I were to increase the size of my log? Well, that's a concept. The question then is, how big can a log get? Don't believe me. Let's go find out directly from the operating system. Now, of course, I could come in here and guess what size to put in, but let's go instead to, policy. Do I have one open? So let's go to a group policy object, and under your security settings, event log, maximum security log size. I've been to now, I think, like 21 different countries, talking to admins, and we're all the same. We're all the same. We're built the same way. You could go read about what that maximum log size is. Who's going to do that? None of us. This is what you're going to do. All right. Well, let's see. Oh, there it is, right? Because no one reads anything. You just try it. Let's just go try it, right? I'm an admin. I can figure this out. Now, if we would have taken 2 seconds and hit explain, it's right there. You didn't even really have to do that much research. Okay? Anyway, I would have done the 99. That's how I knew it to do that, right? Now, in here it says, the security setting specifies the maximum size of the security log, which has a theoretical maximum of 4 gig. Now, the word theoretical translates pretty easily. What does that mean? That means, we do. There was someone at some time in some room in Redmond, Washington that got 4 gig to work, right? That's theoretical. But Microsoft isn't recommending the theoretical, are they? Practically, it's lower. 300 meg. Wow. How big is 300 meg in today's storage capacity? This big? We're like, okay? And now we wonder why we don't have domain admins in our log. Because our log is too small. But let's see. If the log is constantly purging, when the log fills, why don't we just archive? Why don't we just archive the log? Right? Would that make sense? I mean, if I can archive the log, I never miss information. So the question is, does the event viewer back up the security log when it fills up? Does Microsoft give you the option to back up the security log? Now, this is not a special version of Windows. Security log, properties, archive the log when full. Right there. It's been there since Server 2008. Remember the features that Microsoft developed and then don't tell anyone? Here it is. This is part of the revamped event viewer. I can actually archive the log now. And there are an entire set of group policy settings to do this. You go under your computer configuration, administrative templates, Windows components, event log service, security. You have the control of where the path stores it and all details around it. Set it up in policy, and you're now archiving. Right? Now, I had a gentleman last year in Sydney, Australia, that had set this up and was actually monitoring how many logs, on average, per day, the domain controllers were generating. This varies, right? Depends on how many changes you make. I mean, so many variables. In his environment, 10 logs a day. So that means you would have 600 logs a day. How do we view the archive logs? Super simple. You simply come into Event Viewer, you go to Security, and you open 600 saved logs, one at a time. That doesn't sound very fun. Right? Because now, once you get them, you got to somehow find them. You got to find the information. And if we look at the volume of information, right, we have 150,000 events, 60 domain controllers. What's that math? 6, 3, 4 million events? Is that right? Let's say 4 because I don't know. Now I have 10 logs per day. That's 40 million events that I'm having to look at. 40 million events. I think I did wrong math. 60 times 150. That's, oh, down 9. It's 9 million. Sorry, I was off by a couple million. Right? 90 million events that you have to go through and find using Microsoft technology. So even though we have some cool new features, they're not helping us solve a basic problem. And I think knowing the modification of domain admins is a basic problem. So what else does Microsoft give us? Well, could we consolidate logs? Of course. Microsoft has a new technology released in Vista 2008 called Event Log Forwarding. Event Log Forwarding allows you to consolidate logs all the way back to XP and 2003 computers through subscriptions. And with a subscription, you define which computers, so you would add in your 60 domain controllers. You would then define which events you would put in group changes, and the results show up here under the forwarded events. So I can get all my DCs, one master list. How do I find what I need? Find. You're still going to have find. Is there a log size limitation? Yes. So we still have issues. It's getting better, but it's not the solution that we need. But I think we're looking at this all wrong. Who has time to look at logs? Right? No one has time to look at logs. Even if it were fast, we wouldn't have time to look at logs. So instead, let's flip the concept around. How about if we have the log tell us when something changes? So the question is, can you have an email sent to you when domain admins changes? Yep. Wow. With this. So I can go in to Event Viewer, and when a particular event changes, I can associate a task with it. And one of the task options is send an email. Now this is a group change event. I cannot define just domain admins. Group change. How many groups change in comparison to domain admins changing? Because you're going to get an email for every single one of them. How quickly are you going to turn this off? Because you're going to receive thousands of emails a day. This group, this group, change, change, change. And none of them are domain admins. So you have this volume of emails, now you're stuck. Okay? So we got really close. I mean, we even got down to sending alerts. But we have just issues with the event viewer. That's the problem. The event viewer is not a solution. So how do we take advantage of the information that's passing through the security log to get us what we need? Because it's not just domain admins, right? I mean, we have a bunch of things that we are concerned about. Common events that people want to track. I want to know when a new user is created. I want to know when the domain password policy changes. I want to know not only domain admins, but any privileged group. I want to know when it changes membership. Don't you want to know when the Exchange admins group changes membership? Any of them. Pick any privileged group. You need to know when it changes membership. It's vital for your job. I want to know when service accounts are modified. Because if I don't know if a service account is modified, how am I notified? Phone rings. It's not a good call. So instead of fighting, why not just use a tool designed to do it? Because there are tools totally designed just to do this. So click, 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 right? I want to know when the domain admins group has changed membership. There's 3 clicks. There's 4 clicks. Modified admin groups. Let's see, it hasn't changed in the last 30 days. So let's just now bump it up to the last 6 months. Certainly it's changed there. And then I could do a quick search. Domain admins changed the last time on March 1st. How long would that take you to find in the archive was? March 1st, what is that? 75 days ago? Multiply our 90 million times 75 days. That's how many entries we have to list. I did it in 5 clicks. I have a complete history of any time the domain admin group has changed, who made the change, what changed, all the details. It's right there. Tell me this isn't valuable information. Okay? But you have more than just domain admins. You have other types of groups. Does this tool know about those types of groups? Has no clue. I don't know what groups you have that have privileges. You do. Any tool, and I make this recommendation for any tool, the very first thing you should do with the tool is try to customize it. Don't look at the basics. No tool understands your environment. None of them do. This one click, you pick the type of object you're dealing with, groups. This is a default report, and to edit it, you simply add in the groups. That's it. As soon as you add in the group, it starts tracking it. Add in all groups that have privileges, all groups you want to track. And you can set up an alert to get an email just for these groups. You're not going to worry about the other groups. You just worry about these groups. Why do you care about the project group? I don't. It doesn't even affect me. Right? Now, there are some settings that are more important than other settings. I feel, with my experience as an admin and talking with auditors and administrators, service accounts are some of the most controversial settings in Active Directory. Because the story goes like this. You have an auditor that comes and asks you for all the users in their properties. So you produce the list, and they go away. Then they come back, right? And they always come back with a report in their hands, right? They always have a report. They knock on your door. Never a good day when they knock on your door. And they say, I've done some analysis of the users, and there are some users that haven't had their password set in a long time. And you're thinking, yeah, those are service accounts. So you tell them, those are service accounts. Yeah, but we have these compliance regulations that say all users must reset their password in 90 days. This one hasn't had it reset in 2 years. This one, 4 years. So then they ask you the worst question possible. Why haven't you reset the passwords for these users? Does this happen to anyone? Now, every admin that I have asked this question to that's been in a situation gives the auditor the same answer. Again, 21 countries, the same answer. Why haven't you reset this password? What's the answer? You're going to tell the auditor it's too much work? No. What are you going to tell them? It breaks the service. And why do you tell them it breaks the service? Because you want them to leave your office. But you know it's a lie, right? It's totally a lie. I just want you to leave. If I tell you it breaks it, then you have no ground, right? Because you can't tell them it's too difficult. You can't. Because then they're going to tell your boss. And that's a worse thing, right? Now, why is it difficult? The real answer is, I really don't know where it's configured. I came into this job 2 years ago. I don't know where anyone configured it. Even if I set up Active Directory, other people can configure this somewhere. I don't know where it is. I know that's true. So, I went to our developers, because I am not a developer, and I said, I need a tool for admins. I need a tool that, first of all, is free. So, here's our free tools. This is brand new. If you have downloaded our free tools, you got to go do it again, because 9 months ago we updated it to add in service account management. You click on service account management, you go to service account, you click on all the servers in your Active Directory that potentially could have a service account configured on it. These are Windows services. You pick the Windows servers and you go get service accounts. It gets a list of all the service accounts on all the servers you pick. Many of these are default services. You don't care about those. You only care about the users. Done. Free charge. Go get the tool and use it. Again, no information you have to put in about yourself to get the tool. Once you have the list, you want to track them. You didn't even know the list. How do I know the list in the tool? I don't. You simply go to the tool, you go to configuration, you go to user, because we're dealing with users, and you create a new report. Right here. The new report is so simple to create. User modification. I want to know if anything changes. And then you add in the users that you got from the tool. Done. Watch this. If anybody goes to my Active Directory and they modify in any way a service account, I am notified in real time that that change occurred. If I want an email, send an email. How much would this change your world? Or you're getting emails when a service account changes in any way within seconds. Now you can go fix it and no one even knew. Imagine that for all the security settings. Imagine that for privileged groups. Group policy changes that you care about. User rights. Whether someone tries to log on as the administrator account. All these things are possible because now you're taking the information that goes through that security log and you're leveraging that to tell you when something occurs. Because I guarantee you, you don't know it today. It's impossible to know it today. Without a tool that can report and alert, you don't know. Okay? So using Microsoft technologies with a tool on top of it can really go a long way. Okay? So AD Plus, it's got like 125 built-in reports. It covers everything. This was my favorite one, especially in an event like this. Because you want to go back to the office and you want to say, what changed since I was gone? You simply go to account management, all AD changes in the last 24 hours. You get a list of every change that's occurred. There's no more guessing. Why guess when you can have something that tells you? Because it's impossible to know otherwise. And you don't have time to manually go through all the critical settings. Just have the tool tell you. Just have the tool log the information. So customization, super simple, and the alerting is real time, built in. When the change occurs, you're notified.